So speaking of topical, quite a lot of news swirling around Google as Google finally confirmed the Tuesday, October 4th event. The hype train has officially left the station, people. Google announced via a teaser site, which can be found at madeby.google.com, which shows an outline of a phone with a carousel of images inside it. It's hard to know for sure if the photos were taken with one of the new phones, but interestingly enough, not surprising, the event will be held in San Francisco at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It'll be that morning and streamed to YouTube as well. And they keep saying this made by Google, which really kind of, goes in the face of what we've heard in terms of the rumors that HTC actually made the hardware. So are they saying it's made by Google but manufactured by HTC? Well, how will HTC be involved? That's one of the questions. But then also even bigger news was that Google ran teaser ads for this date and the event during, of all TV shows, The Big Bang Theory on television.
Yeah, of course,
Which, man,
of course,
what are you going to do?
Right.
Bazinga. And then additionally, in a move that we've seen before from Google, Alphabet-owned company Nest ran an ad in the Netherlands for its products, and there appears to be someone using one of the new Pixel phones in the ad. We saw this a couple of years ago when they posted a video before the announcement with the actual new phone in it and then quickly took it back and that sort of thing.
Nexus 5.
Yeah.
It was a statue unveiling for KitKat.
Exactly.
At the campus.
So we're seeing leaks, we're seeing announcements, we got a website. What do we make of it, Tim? What do you make of this made by Google stuff?
Well, I was watching Monday Night Football because the Bears were playing, and I saw the ad for it and was super confused. It's just so unlike Google to actually put out a marketing campaign for some of their hardware. Saw that there was a big ad in Times Square and just a bunch of other things. But otherwise, I'm pretty excited, though. Although you do got to know that with this more marketing going on and popularity going to go up, you're going to have to end up paying a little bit more. So you're probably not going to get early Nexus prices. You're probably
there
gonna
goes
have to
the
pay
neighborhood.
A little bit more. So
yeah. Something bothers me about Made by Google.
Why?
Because it's not.
I feel like it's disingenuous.
Yeah.
Okay, hold up. Wait a minute. What do you mean it's disingenuous?
Because it
not.
depends on how they're defining made by Google. If it's HTC that's manufactured.
Oh boy,
this,
here we go.
and
Okay.
it's the same as every Nexus device that's ever been made, which have not been made by Google. They've been made with Google's, let's say, direction, influence, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
But it's not hardware that's made by Google in the same way the Pixel C was, or the Chromebook Pixel, or whatever, made in-house at Google. That's what I want. I want Google to put its stamp on these phones and release a phone that is their hardware, and then they can say made by Google.
That's what they're doing. They licensed HTC to make it for them.
Which is what they've done every single year for Nexus devices.
Yeah,
Why
but
is this
it's
different?
not any different just because HTC is doing it. Just because HTC is, because they're struggling, we have to give them more of like a front row because they're doing a Nexus device.
I feel like it is different. I feel like it actually is.
I don't
very
think it's different.
Because the thing that I really like about the Pixel, the Chromebook Pixel, the thing that I mean, I don't use the Pixel C, but
Right.
what I really liked about the Pixel C is that that's Google's stamp. That is Google saying, here is how we make hardware. We make hardware.
But they don't, Jason. They don't, though.
Yeah, they do. Exactly.
I mean, they've outsourced the manufacturing of the the Pixel C the same way Apple has Foxconn build iPhones.
Well, for sure. Okay, so they don't have a factory in their building, but they're
Right.
not working. Like, by all accounts, these devices are very similar in design to some of HTC's other phones.
Yes.
That is not made by Google to me. That is, hey, HTC, what you got? Oh, I kind of like that. Let's go with that.
But made by Google is referring more specifically to Android, because Google's trying to take back Android and be like, this is our operating system. This isn't Samsung's operating system. Just because they're the number one, Android smartphone in this country or whatever.
Yeah.
It's us that's making this. So you guys need to know that. We're actually making Android. We're the ones doing all the initial programming. We're the ones coming up with the features that you want to use. And pretty soon you're going to be tapping into, once Google Assistant goes live, that's made by Google. There's no HTC in there.
There are other elements.
HTC made the components, and I'm sure they're going to have a little logo on the back, just the way the 6P does, and I believe the 5X has LG on the back, and the last couple of. Yes, Ron.
What will be super interesting to that point is how they handle the mentioning of HTC, if at all, during the event.
Yeah. Right.
So if they're saying we've partnered with HTC to bring you the new Pixels or whatever, or if they say we're bringing you the new Pixels, that will be the defining. I think that Jason, will address your concern about the use of made by Google. If they're saying, listen, we outline the specs or whatever, and HTC is doing the manufacturing because they do such a great job, and let's be honest, they kind of need the business. Then it will be the way they tell the story of the brand and what this Google Pixel means. I think will go a long way as far as to whether you're right to be upset or if it's hackneyed marketing.
I mean, I wouldn't. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't say that I'm upset about it because I'm really.
I think you're heated.
But it's fun to talk about. Yeah. And that's what we do.
I actually feel a lot of emotion emanating off of you right now. That
flow.
Well, usually you're very chill, and then you got really serious, and I was like, it's going down.
No, I just, what I would love is to feel like when I use the Pixel and when I use the Pixel C, and even with Google Glass, let's say, there is a certain kind of element, certain aspect to these devices that to me feels made by Google, actually. Like whether that tagline existed or not, I do consider this to be a product of Google, and the Google Glass, for better or for worse, to be a product of Google. Repurposing somebody else's hardware to then throw your name on it, whatever. I understand they had a lot of influence, and they probably pulled a lot of the made a lot of those really hard decisions to make it. So maybe the lines are a little blurry there. I don't know. I kind of want Google to take it into its own hands entirely. Maybe that's wrong. What do you think, Tim?
I think it's okay to go to HTC if they can't handle all that big manufacturing that goes on. I think HTC has all those manufacturing avenues in place. So it was just kind of something making it easier for Google to focus on other things and just kind of partner with someone that already has those avenues to manufacture all these different products. But I agree with you. I think, for example, using the Pixel C, I do like the feel that they have just taken it all into their grasp and had complete control over it. There was absolutely no outside influence in that device. So I think overall, as long as they take the main control over these Pixel devices, I think it's okay. But in the near future, I would like to see them start to create their own manufacturing channels.
Yeah. So if they're going to do that, then excuse me, sorry about that. If they're going to do that, then they have to pick their own manufacturing partners, and that is a lot of infrastructure to sort of so to speak, infrastructure to put into place overseas where everything is made. Also, somebody's made a good point in the chat that it's easier to just pick up a phone design that's sort of ready to put together, and for HTC not making, let's be honest, they haven't been making as much money as they could be. This is an ample opportunity for them to kind of help make some of that money by just selling directly to Google and repackaging the 10 or whatever.
No doubt.
But I totally understand where you're coming from, because I really feel like this is about more than just Google repackaging an HTC phone. And Ron and Tim, you guys let me know if you feel the same, but I feel like what's happening now is we're realizing that the MO for Android this year is going to be a little bit different than it was in years past.
For sure.
Oh yeah, that's
whole
obvious.
marketing message is going to be, it's completely Google's trying. What I feel that they're trying to do now with this spot on CBS or whatever is say, remember how you get excited for the Apple events? Well, we're going to start doing them too. So they want to train the sort of mainstream audience to expect that every October there's going to be, a new Android phone, made by Google.
I don't know if I go that far, especially I don't necessarily want to see Google saying, well, we're doing that too. I don't want to see them kind of doing a following Apple kind of scenario, but it's them taking hold of the Google name and associating it with cell phones in a more aggressively marketing sense than they have in the past. Whereas previously Google and Android has kind of fallen, behind the scenes and let Samsung and let HTC and T-Mobile and AT&T and all the other ones kind of sell the product for them. Now they're being a little more aggressive in how they're doing it, and which I think is a good thing. But actually now as we talk about it, Jason, I'm kind of leaning with you now as well, because how cool would it be if we didn't see these leaks and we didn't know it was already an HTC phone, and when they unveil this new phone, it looks unlike any other phone on the market. You know, like similar to how the Pixel C looked like nothing else on the market at the time. You know, like doing something interesting with the industrial design a la Nextbit, or some of the other companies that are doing interesting things with the way phones are, to make it really, really unique, to continue driving that message. If they came up, what I think is interesting is that they might have already set the momentum going with HTC on these round of phones and decided to rebrand a Pixel after the fact.
Yeah.
And that might explain why the phones look like more like HTC. And in that case, do future Pixels end up looking more independent, Jason, the way you'd like to see them? But this is kind of like the 0.5 version of it. I don't know.
Right,
I mean,
the stepping stone to that point, where maybe next year ends up being check it out, the fully designed and and processed from the ground up Google phone, the Pixel.
The other interesting thing, which I'm really watching closely with these commercials and with the October 4th event, is that I really hope, because if I worked at Google, this would be the first thing I went into the office saying, but like Samsung's batteries blows up. Everyone hates the earbuds on iPhone. We have an opportunity to step up and say, here is a real alternative. And whether they decided to do these ads before the Samsung debacle and the iPhone 7, or if this is a reaction to this moment in time where they could really step forward with this Pixel brand and make a big splash, time will tell. We'll hear that story, I think, after the fact, hopefully. But it's a real opportunity for them to lay out a strong market position and go strong into the holidays with lots of sales.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Going along with that, Ron, especially whether or not they decided this marketing last minute or not, but they are in a great opportunity, especially because I think in general, Google is getting a little upset at how everyone specifically sees Android as Samsung. I mean, when it comes down to it, especially just the general public, all of my friends, every single one of them, pretty much none of them have heard of Nexus devices. Most of them consider Galaxy devices Android, and then iPhones made by Apple. So I think overall, it's kind of an opportunity for them to kind of take back control, letting people know that Android is actually from them and not any other specific manufacturer.
Yeah. And Google seems emboldened right now now more than ever to kind of make that step and not fear kind of we're ticking off the partners that we've had for so long and making that step in that direction.
How are they going to? That's been the
argument.
Without Google, you're nothing, honey.
That's been the argument up until the last couple of years, let's say, where people are like, "Oh, Google would never do that. They don't want to, annoy the partners that they don't want to compete against the people that are the companies that are making Android a success." Now I think Google kind of cares less about that aspect.